Have you ever wondered how a few simple words can convince millions to go to war or topple an entire empire? Well, it's not magic, it's actually a science. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the timeless playbook of political persuasion. We're going to look at the exact techniques leaders have used for centuries to literally shape the world we live in. So, really, how does this happen? How can mere words, just sounds in the air, achieve such massive results? Well, the answer lies in this powerful three-part formula for persuasion, a formula that's been shaping human behavior for thousands of years. So here's how we're going to break it all down. Our journey starts way back in ancient Greece with a framework from Aristotle himself. We're going to explore his three core pillars of persuasion. That's ethos, pathos, and logos. And then we'll see how they all come together to form the modern persuasion playbook.
And get this ancient formula is the exact same tool used by someone like Winston Churchill to rally a nation against tyranny. And, on the flip side, by Adolf Hitler to orchestrate a genocide. It's a true weapon of influence, and as we're about to see, its power can be used for absolutely incredible good and for unimaginable evil.
Okay, first up, there's ethos. This is the appeal to credibility. I mean, think about it. Before you can be persuaded of anything, you have to trust the person who's speaking, right? Are they an expert? Do they share your values? This is the foundation. If there's no trust, nothing else they say even matters. Next, we have pathos, the appeal to emotion. Now, this is where a speaker stops talking to your brain and starts talking directly to your gut. They tap into your hopes, your fears, your deepest loyalties, all to forge this powerful personal connection that, really drives you to action. And finally, there's logos, the appeal to logic. This is the part that satisfies your rational mind. It's the evidence, the statistics, the whole if this, then that kind of reasoning that makes an argument feel solid, justified, and just correct. So let's see how these appeals actually work out in the real world, starting with ethos. How do leaders convince millions of people that they are the one person worth following? Well, it is all about crafting the perfect public persona. Just look at the stark contrast. Churchill built his credibility, his ethos, on brutal honesty, that whole blood, toil, tears, and sweat persona. Hitler, on the other hand, crafted this almost religious, messianic image of himself as Germany's sole savior. Both are, in a way, masterclasses in ethos, but they forge entirely different bonds with their followers, and that leads to vastly, vastly different outcomes. Then you've got someone like Franklin D. Roosevelt, who took a completely different path. Through his famous fireside chats, he cultivated the ethos of a calm, caring guardian. By speaking directly into people's living rooms and calling them my friends, he built this uniquely personal bond of trust during some of the nation's darkest hours. And here we see another really powerful form of ethos, identification. Ronald Reagan was an absolute master at this. By constantly using phrases like "we the people," he wasn't just speaking to the audience, he was positioning himself as one of them. He was speaking as a fellow citizen, someone who shared their values and frustrations, which made him seem incredibly relatable and trustworthy. But, building trust is only the first step. To really move the masses, a leader has to capture their hearts. And this brings us to pathos, the appeal to emotion. And this is where rhetoric becomes both incredibly powerful and, frankly, incredibly dangerous. I mean, Hitler was chillingly direct about his strategy. He pretty much admitted his goal was to whip crowds into such an emotional frenzy, stoking their deepest fears and hatreds, that their ability to reason would just be paralyzed. He wanted his words to feel less like a suggestion and more like a hypnotic command. Now, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, look at how Churchill used emotion. He used this powerful repetition, it's a device called anaphora, with the phrase, "we shall fight." The goal here wasn't to create some wild frenzy, it was to build a steady, rhythmic, unbreakable wall of collective resolve. It's just a masterclass in using emotion to forge courage, not chaos. And this is a perfect example of what you could call emotional judo. FDR took the overwhelming fear that was gripping the country, and instead of ignoring it, he faced it head-on. By naming fear itself as the only enemy, he did this incredible act of rhetorical alchemy, turning a paralyzing emotion into a shared challenge that they could overcome together. He essentially weaponized hope against despair. But look, emotion by itself isn't enough. An appeal to the heart can feel a little fleeting or even manipulative if it doesn't have a matching appeal to the head. And that's the role of logos, to provide the logical scaffolding that makes an emotional argument feel totally rational and justified. Hitler's use of logos was, well, it was a toxic caricature of reasoning. He presented this pseudo-logical argument. It went something like this. Germany is suffering. Then he identified a scapegoat, Jewish people, Marxists, and claimed they were the cause. So the logical solution he offered was their removal. It's a deeply, deeply flawed and horrifying logic, but to an audience already primed by fear, it presented a simple, coherent, and utterly evil narrative.
Churchill's use of logos was the total opposite. It was grounded in cold, hard realism. He pointed to historical precedents, he laid out the facts of military capability, and he presented a clear, logical choice. We either fight and have a chance, or we surrender and lose everything. It was a pragmatic argument, not a fanatical one.
This quote right here is a masterclass in what's called populist logos. In just one sentence, Reagan created this simple, powerful logical frame. It wasn't about complex data or charts. It was about capturing a widespread feeling of frustration and presenting a clear, easy-to-grasp problem, which then implies a clear solution. And for millions of people, that simple logic was way more powerful than any spreadsheet. So, we've broken down these three ancient pillars of persuasion: credibility, emotion, and logic. We've seen them used to build up nations and to tear them down. So what's the key lesson here? What should we take away from this powerful playbook? Well, the ultimate takeaway is this. These three appeals are almost never used in isolation. The real art of persuasion is in weaving them together so seamlessly you barely notice. A master persuader first earns your trust with ethos, then captures your heart with pathos, and finally satisfies your mind with logos. It's this powerful trinity that can change minds and, at the end of the day, change the world. And you should make no mistake. This ancient formula is not just some dusty old history lesson. It is being used every single day in political odds, in corporate boardrooms, all over your social media feed. So the real question isn't just about the past, it's about your future. Now that you see the playbook, how will you listen differently?